Discover how a life-changing encounter with a mechanic revealed the incredible truth to a Wall Street warrior struggling to survive in a small town. Jake's heart raced as he leaned against his sputtering pickup truck, glistening in the heat of the summer sun. The tires kicked up dust, swirling around his ankles like the worries swirling in his mind. All he could think about was Emma, his bright-eyed daughter with the dreams bigger than their cramped apartment. He couldn't let her down, not again. Just as despair threatened to drown him, a rumble broke the perfectly still air. He turned to see a sign hanging above a paint-chipped door, Roy's Garage. Today was his last hope. Stepping into the garage was like entering a hallowed ground filled with the scent of motor oil and the sound of tools clanging, a symphony of resilience. Behind the counter stood Roy, a gruff yet familiar man whose rough exterior masked a heart molded by years of hardship. "What brings you here?" he grunted, eyebrows raised. The words came tumbling out, "Truck's dead." Just like my hopes. Jake's usual dry humor betrayed him, morphing into a plea. "What's wrong with it?" Roy asked, eyes narrowing. As Jake recounted the slow demise of his faithful companion, something shifted between them. They weren't just two working-class men, they were two fathers fighting their own battles, fighting for their families. And with each tale Roy shared about his struggles raising a daughter of his own, the heavy burden on Jake's chest seemed just a bit lighter. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over them. News spread like wildfire through this small town. A wealthy developer was planning to bulldoze the community center where Jake and Emma often found solace. A place that served as their sanctuary? It felt like a punch to the gut. The air crackled with anger and disbelief as Jake found his voice. "We can't let this happen." It wasn't just about the center anymore. It was about Emma's dreams of a better life, about standing up for those who felt voiceless in their own hometown. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With Roy by his side, a little flicker of hope ignited within him. They began organizing meetings, rallying neighbors, and convincing the elderly at the diner to join them. Voices that had long been hushed reverberated with a newfound determination. Plans began to take shape as they transformed a sense of despair into a collective dream of victory. Yet, just as they prepared to present their case at the town hall, the unthinkable happened. A devastating storm pummeled through, leaving destruction in its wake. Jake's stomach dropped. Their fight suddenly felt monumental, insurmountable. As tensions mounted and the shelves of their resilience threatened to crumble, Jake knew they had to act. Standing before the shambles of the community center, he felt the weight of every family's gaze upon him. Would he rise to protect not just his daughter's dreams, but the very spirit of the town they called home? Would he summon the strength to turn the din of uncertainty into a roar of unyielding courage? As the air thickened with desperation, Jake's choice could change everything. Jake stood there, heart pounding, staring at the wreckage of what used to be a community place filled with laughter and warmth. The storm had done a number on the center, every board and beam now an echo of nostalgia and loss. It felt like a cruel twist of fate, a reminder that life sometimes enjoyed throwing punches when you least expected it. He glanced at Roy, who stood firm next to him. The seasoned mechanic's face was etched with concern, but also with determination. "We can't let this storm be the end of our fight," Roy said, his voice steady. "It's just a setback. We need to show the town they can rise from this like they have time and time again." Jake took a deep breath, letting the words settle, pulling him back from the edge of despair. "You're right. Emma needs this place. The kids need this place." The flicker of hope grew into a flame. He grabbed his phone, the device now his lifeline, and began texting the neighbors who had joined their fight. "Meeting at the diner tonight," he typed furiously, eager to light a spark where there was darkness. "We need to reassess our plans. The storm won't break our spirit. Each notification felt like a rallying cry, a reminder that they were all in this together. As the sun began to set, painting the skies in shades of orange and pink, Jake watched familiar figures drift into the diner. Families, friends, all sharing a common bond, love for their town. The air grew heavy with the collective spirit of resilience, an energy that coursed through Jake like a shot of adrenaline. "Hey!" shouted Martha, the town librarian, her voice piercing through the murmurs. "We came here to fight for the center. We've been through worse, and we came out stronger." Applause erupted, filling the diner, a spark igniting every heart in the room. The stories began to pour out, old memories and future dreams mingling together. "Remember the movie nights?" someone called out, triggering laughter. "And the summer fairs? We can't let some greedy developer take this from us." As ideas bounced around the room, Jake felt a shift within himself. Each word from his neighbors strengthened his resolve. Ideas blossomed like the flower beds they had planted around the center over the years. They talked about fundraisers, organizing cleanup days, even reaching out to local media to spread the word. That evening, they decided to form a committee, led by Jake and Roy, to spearhead the restoration. The town rallied behind them, a tapestry of unity woven together through shared struggles and hopes. It was exhilarating, filling Jake with a sense of purpose he had long forgotten. But as they dismantled the plans of the developer piece by piece, a distant shadow loomed. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they faced more than just bureaucracy. On the fringes there were whispers, rumors that the developer was watching every move they made. The threat felt real and chilling. The night ended with a promise. A promise to stand strong, to fight fiercely. As Jake left the diner, he felt something shift inside him. It was more than hope, it was acceptance of the fight ahead. A journey that challenged not only his love for Emma but the very heart of a community willing to rise together. He didn't know what the outcome would be, and that uncertainty gnawed at him, but he realized one thing for certain: this fight was just beginning. Would they have enough spirit and support to face the looming threat? What other challenges would await them? The journey ahead was fraught with unknowns, but one thing was clear: Jake and his town were ready to face them head-on. As the moon cast a silver glow over the diner, Jake stepped outside, his heart still racing from the night's energy. He was guided by a mix of hope and anxiety, knowing full well they had only scratched the surface of their battle. The streetlights flickered above him like fireflies, illuminating the path he had to follow. A chill swept through the air, reminding him that winter was still a few weeks away. He hugged his jacket tighter around him, his mind racing with new ideas and strategies. The haunting shadows of uncertainty danced at the edge of his thoughts, but the voices of his friends filled him with a warm resolve. They had made a promise tonight, a commitment to fight. As he wandered back towards his house, he noticed movement up ahead. A figure leaned against a lamppost, their hands shoved deep into their pockets. It was Emma. Her silhouette in the dim light drew him in, a beacon of light among the darkness. "Hey," she said softly, a smile spreading across her face. "Hey," he replied, a sudden wave of comfort washing over him. "I thought you'd be home by now." "I wanted to see you after the meeting," she said, stepping closer. "I wanted to know how it went." Her eyes sparkled in the fading light, but Jake could see a flicker of concern buried within them. "It was intense," he admitted. "We're all fired up to restore the center." But he paused, hesitating to share the weight of his worries. "I think we're in for a rough fight." Emma's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "There are rumors about the developer watching us. I can't shake this feeling that he's planning something. It might not just be about the center. He could be trying to break us and the community," Jake explained, his voice barely above a whisper. Her gaze hardened, betraying her protective nature. "We can't let that happen. We're stronger together, remember? You're not doing this alone." Jake nodded, grateful for her steadfastness. The connection between them felt more powerful than before, like they were bonded by a shared purpose. They had both lost something in the storm, but together they could build something new. "I know that," he said. "I just wish I had a clearer plan. It feels like we're fighting against the shadow." The frustration bubbled up, and he clenched his fists as he spoke, Emma placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. What if we go back to the community center tomorrow? Dig through the wreckage? Maybe there's something salvageable, something that could remind us what we're fighting for. A smile crept onto Jake's face. You're right. We need to see what we can reclaim. As hope flared up again, he looked into her eyes, wanting to share not just this burden, but the future he envisioned. A future where laughter echoed through the center's halls once more. Suddenly, a slamming door broke the moment. A group of people emerged from a nearby house, laughing and joking. They spilled into the street, their vibrant energy infectious. Jake and Emma exchanged glances, the understanding that they were not alone settling around them like a warm blanket. The community was ready to fight, and together they would take on whatever came their way. But just as they prepared to join the gathering, a shadow flitted behind them, a figure slipping into the darkness, eyes watching from the fringes. Did you see that? Jake whispered, his stomach twisting with unease. Emma nodded, her smile fading as she too caught sight of the figure. In that moment, they both realized they were not just fighting for memories. They were facing something much more dangerous. What was the developer planning? And who were these watchers lurking in the shadows? The challenges were growing, but Jake felt ready to confront them. With the community by his side, he just needed to navigate the storm ahead. Jake's heart raced as his instincts kicked in. He leaned closer to Emma, whispering, "We should check it out. Find out who that was." She hesitated, glancing toward the group still laughing and enjoying themselves, but Jake's determination was evident. "Stay close," he instructed. Together, they crept toward the edge of the crowd, where the darkness was thickest. The laughter faded behind them as they edged closer to the shadows, careful not to make a sound. A cold breeze brushed past, sending a shiver through their spines. Jake squinted into the night, trying to find the figure again. Just as he did, movement caught his eye, a flash of a leather jacket disappearing down a narrow alley. "Hey, wait!" Jake called out before he could think twice. "Jake!" "No!" Emma grasped his arm, pulling him back. "We don't know who that is." But he was already losing himself to the adrenaline coursing through him. He took off after the figure, his feet pounding against the pavement. Emma hesitated only a moment, then followed closely behind. The alley was dark, but a dim light from a flickering bulb above provided just enough illumination. Jake strained to see through the maze of trash cans and narrow passages. He was propelled by a mix of curiosity and fear, each step heavy with possibility. "Stop!" Jake shouted, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. The figure froze for a moment, but then broke into a sprint. Jake's breath was heavy in his chest, but he pressed on, glancing back to see Emma trailing behind him. They rounded a corner, and suddenly the figure was trapped against the wall, looking back at them with wide eyes. Jake felt a moment of hesitation. The person before him, young, with wild hair and a wary expression, didn't he look threatening? "Who are you?" Jake demanded. The figure hesitated, glancing at Emma before answering, I'm trying to help." The voice was shaky yet held an undercurrent of sincerity. "Help with what?" Emma asked, her tone shifting from caution to curiosity. "The developer. He's planning something big, something that could destroy your community center before you even get a chance to fight back." Jake's heart pounded. Here was a glimmer of the information they'd been seeking, a piece of the shadowy puzzle. "What do you know?" he pressed. "There's a meeting. Tomorrow night. The developer's team is laying out their plans. If you want to stop them, you need to be there. But it's dangerous. They don't want you knowing what they're up to." The urgency in the figure's eyes told Jake this was not just idle talk. This was the tipping point. Up until now, it had been about memories, about reclaiming what was lost. But tonight, this encounter was about survival. "Why help us?" Emma asked, her voice softer now. The figure glanced down, almost ashamed. "Because I've seen what they can do. When my neighborhood lost their community center, it broke us apart. I want to let them take yours." Jake exchanged a glance with Emma, their thoughts aligned. This was the fight they had been preparing for, the moment that could either propel them forward or crush them completely. Will you come with us? Jake asked, a sense of urgency pushing him to take action. We need every fighter we can gather. The figure looked around, catching sight of the gathering still celebrating in the distance. I'll do it. But we have to be careful. It won't be easy. Nothing worth fighting forever is, Emma replied, a fire igniting within her. In that moment, Jake felt a wave of determination wash over him. They were on the precipice of something monumental. The shadows were closing in, but together, with allies rising from unexpected places, it became clear the fight was just beginning. What would they uncover in the meeting? And would they be ready for the storm that lurked just beyond the horizon? The stakes had never been higher. Jake felt a rush of emotion swirling within him as the figure's words settled like a weight on his shoulders. The urgency mingled with fear and hope, igniting an almost electric buzz in the air. He looked at Emma, whose eyes mirrored his tightly coiled determination. They were at a crossroads, a chance to fight for what mattered most. What's your name? Jake asked, firming his resolve. It's Sam, the figure replied, nodding slightly. And trust me, you're going to need me. All right, Sam. Let's do this, Jake said, glancing back at the cheering crowd. They couldn't go back now, they had crossed the line. He could feel Emma's hand resting on his shoulder, a silent promise of support. Nothing would distract them from their mission now. First, we need a plan, Emma stated, her voice steady, drawing the attention of both boys. If we go in without knowing what they're discussing, we might walk into a trap. Sam nodded. They'll be holed up in a warehouse near the old mill outside town. It's deserted and easy to miss, but they'll have security. We need to get in unnoticed. Jake felt a mix of excitement and trepidation at the thought of sneaking into the unknown. Then we scout it out tonight. We can't waste time. Emma frowned a little, instinctively pacing. What if we get caught? It would be called the worst-case scenario, Sam replied with a glimpse of a grin, trying to lighten the mood. But look, if we stick together, we can watch each other's backs. Remember why we're doing this. The determination in their eyes rekindled the fire of resistance that had been ignited in their hearts. Let us go, Jake said. They turned to leave the alley, stepping momentarily back into the warmth of the night air. The vibrant sounds of the celebration blurred into the background. The energy of their surroundings felt stifling now, the laughter loud yet somehow distant. They walked in silence, each person lost in their thoughts. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. A twist of anxiety quelled his gut tighter with every step. He exchanged a quick glance with Emma, silently assuring each other they'd keep moving no matter what. As they approached the location Sam had mentioned, the town grew quieter. The only sounds were their footsteps and the rustling of leaves, all else drowned in the weight of anticipation. Over there, Sam whispered, pointing to a concrete structure just beyond the reach of streetlights. It was crumbling, yet its presence loomed intimidatingly, casting shadows like guard towers. The adrenaline surged again as they crept toward it, hearts pounding in sync. We'll split up and circle around, Jake proposed, trying to sound calm despite the rapid thump of his heart. Be careful. Use hand signals, Emma cautioned, her brow furrowed with worry. Jake nodded, knowing their safety depended on every move they made. They dispersed, each taking their post around the building. Jake could feel the adrenaline kicking in as he peered through the grime-covered windows. He caught snippets of low voices inside, the silhouette of someone moving back and forth. Suddenly, a shout broke through the stillness. Panic gripped him as he pulled back, eyes wide and searching for Emma and Sam. They needed to regroup, to alert one another. But Jake's instincts kicked in, rendering his thoughts chaotic. What were they saying? What decisions were being made that could threaten everything they held dear? And then, as if answering his unspoken fears, he caught a glimpse of a figure at a table, a blueprint unfurling beneath the stark glow of the lights inside. It was clear this was their moment to fight back, but his heart raced for a different reason. It wasn't just fear. It was something deeper, something that made him question what line they were about to cross. In that moment, everything felt pivotal. The plan was in motion, but in the shadows, unseen consequences lingered, waiting to strike. Would they uncover the full extent of the threat? And what would be the cost of their newfound bravery? The tension thickened in the fabric of the night air, as they prepared to take their first steps toward the unknown. Jake swallowed hard, his throat dry. The sight of the blueprint flickered in his mind, a jigsaw puzzle of danger mixed with the thrill of possibility. He had to focus. He crouched lower, eyes locked on the dimly lit room. The outline of a man came into view, pacing back and forth, a nervous energy radiating off him. It felt like the kind of energy that could explode at any moment. Jake's heart thundered in his chest. He was so close to understanding what they were up against but terrified of the consequences. From the corner of his eye, he spotted Emma quietly positioning herself a short distance away. She exchanged a quick look with Sam, who was barely visible in the shadows. The unspoken agreement passed between them: they had to trust one another. "Do you hear that?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper, yet sharp in the quiet. Jake strained to listen, and the unmistakable clatter of metal reached his ears. It was a sound of preparation tools or weapons. His instincts screamed danger. "Stay low," Jake mouthed to Emma, gesturing to the broken window just behind them. It would give them a better angle to hear the conversation. With belly-flopping anxiety, he crept toward the window, peering through the grime while the others followed suit. Their breaths mingled with the cold night air, creating clouds of anticipation. The man inside was talking to someone else now, a voice more sinister. "We finalized the deal tonight. No one can find out." "What if they do?" the low voice retorted. "That kid has been sniffing around, and I don't like it. We can't take chances. He has to be dealt with." Jake's stomach dropped. They were referring to him. It was an unsettling realization, like frost creeping up his spine. He felt Emma tense beside him, and Sam's expression hardened. "We take care of it," the first man replied, patting a pocket that looked suspiciously like it could hold a gun. Jake could barely breathe. The weight of their decision felt heavier than ever. "We can't leave anything to chance," the second voice added, rising with a palpable edge. "We can't just ignore what we started." Jake shared a glance with Emma, and it was clear, the threat was more dangerous than they imagined. They had to act, but how? Suddenly, a noise at the other end of the alley made Jake's heart stop. His thoughts spiraled. Had they been discovered? He turned slightly, heart racing. Just ahead, a figure stepped into the shadows. Whoever it was, they were about to be unwelcome. "Jake!" Emma hissed urgently. "Get back!" All three of them quickly retreated, pressed against the crumbling wall. The tension in the air felt electric, thick enough to slice. Whatever was about to happen could change everything. What if they were too late? What if the danger they were racing towards was unavoidable? Jake's heart pounded like a drum, echoing with the questions of the moment. Then, from the dark, a voice boomed. "You need to leave now. You've stepped into something you can't handle." Jake strained to see, adrenaline blurring his senses. He clutched the wall for support, heart thumping. Was this ally or enemy? They were at a tipping point. The lines of safety and risk blurred in the heat of the moment. Would they listen or charge into the unknown? As the figure drew closer, everything hinged on his next move. Jake's instincts screamed at him to make a choice, but the piercing darkness made it nearly impossible to read the figure approaching. Shadows danced around the alley, but just as the figure stepped into a patch of muted light, Jake's breath hitched. It was a woman, her face etched with worry and urgency, familiar yet unsettling. "Anna," he breathed, his voice barely more than a whisper. His heart raced as memories of their last encounter flooded back her warnings, her fear for his safety, and the feeling that she might know more than she let on. "Go!" she urged, cutting through the tension like a knife. "You're in real danger. They know you're here." "Who?" Sam asked, breaking the heavy silence, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "Those men inside. They're not just dealing in blueprints. They're connected to more than you can imagine," Anna replied, her voice trembling but urgent. "You need to trust me. We have to move, now." The trio exchanged frantic glances. Every instinct urged them to flee, yet Jake's curiosity burned brighter than fear. "What do you know? Tell me." They'll kill you if they see you. Anna's eyes darted back toward the entrance of the building. Time was running out. I can help, but we have to act fast. Follow my lead. Uncertainty gnawed at Jake. He thought of the mission, the secrets they'd uncovered, the darkness that loomed just beyond the shadows. But as he looked into Anna's eyes, he saw the truth reflected there, the urgency, the fear. He couldn't turn his back. Not now. Okay, he nodded, glancing at Emma and Sam. We'll follow you. Without another word, Anna turned, looking over her shoulder as she led them toward a narrow side street, guiding them deeper into the web of alleyways. The air felt charged, heavy with the threat they were trying to escape. Jake could still feel the pulse of danger thrumming in his ears like a masher of waves crashing against the shore. Where are we going? Emma whispered as they hurried along. To a safe place. I have contacts that can help us. Anna threw a quick glance backward, her eyes wide with apprehension. But time is short. The group slowed down as they entered a dimly lit courtyard, surrounded by tall buildings looming like sentinels. The flickering streetlight cast an eerie glow, but they were momentarily hidden here. You were right about the deal tonight. It's bigger than just blueprints, Anna continued, breathless. They're moving something harmful, something that can change everything. I can't explain everything here. You have to trust me. Every bone in Jake's body screamed for answers, but he held them back, focused instead on the urgency at hand. We need to let someone know, warn people. Anna shook her head forcefully. No. Not yet. We need to know more before we begin to unravel it. We don't even know who we can trust. Jake's heart raced. Then what do we do? Anna's expression hardened as she pulled out her phone. We find out exactly what they're planning. One step at a time. And for that, we have to split up and gather intel. I'll stay with you, but you need to go to the other side of town and find the mechanic I mentioned. He knows the inner workings, more than anyone else. Emma looked hesitant, but Jake could see that all three were haunted by curiosity. The adrenaline pumped through his veins. We can do this. We have to. Just as they prepared to split, the faint sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the alley and they were getting closer. Go, go, go! Anna cried out, pushing them toward the nearest exit. Jake's heart thundered as they dashed away, the sense of danger prickling the back of his neck. The stakes had skyrocketed, and now every second counted. As they fled, Jake realized that what awaited them was unimaginable, and dread filled him. They were hurtling towards something that could change everything they knew. Could they really trust Anna? And what awaited them on the other side of this treacherous trail? With every step, Jake felt himself propelled into a world where every choice could mean life or death. Would they find the answers they sought, or would their chase for truth draw the very danger they feared? The trio sprinted into the shadows, Anna leading the way, her breath coming in quick gasps. The echo of their footsteps felt like a countdown, a heartbeat of urgency in the night. Jake could barely think over the chaotic rhythm of his heart. He glanced sideways at Emma and Sam, their determination shared, but also tinged with fear. Anna dragged them around another corner and into a quieter street, where the sounds of the city faded into an eerie stillness. This way, she instructed, her voice a sharp whisper. They paused for a moment behind a dumpster, hoping to catch their breath, feeling the weight of what was hanging in the air. Why the mechanic? Sam asked, a frown growing deeper on his forehead. What has he got that we don't? He's not just a mechanic, Anna replied, her face illuminated for a second by the dim light of a nearby street lamp. He's a mastermind when it comes to the underground. He knows how the players operate, what they're moving, and where they're going. Trust me, he can save us. Jake nodded, swallowing his doubts. He had no idea if they were walking into more danger, but Anna's intensity was magnetic. Okay. Let us find him and get some answers. They resumed their course, moving cautiously, scanning the shadows for any sign of trouble. Each footstep felt like a statement, a defiance against the dangers hovering just out of sight. Jake felt something lurking under his skin, a sense of urgency that made him question everything. What did Anna know that she wasn't saying? After a few tense moments, they arrived at a weathered shop at the end of the block, its neon sign flickering feebly. The place looked ordinary from the outside, but Jake sensed secrets dwelled within its walls. "Wait here," Anna whispered. "I'll go inside first." Jake opened his mouth to argue, but she was already slipping through the door. He wanted to yell after her, to demand she be careful, but the words evaporated into the night. Emma, standing beside him, clenched her hands nervously. "What if this is a trap?" she murmured, her voice barely a breath. "Then we'll be ready," Jake replied, forcing a comfort he didn't feel. "We're not alone in this." A few agonizing minutes passed before Anna reappeared, a mix of relief and tension marking her face. "He's in the back. He can help, just follow my lead." Jake felt the weight of understanding dawning on him. This moment could be pivotal. Trust was fragile, but the prospect of clarity was tantalizing, drawing him closer to the truth he craved. As they moved inside, Jake caught a glimpse of the cluttered garage. Tools hung everywhere, and the smell of oil mixed with something sharp and metallic. It too felt alive, like the heart of the city itself, pulsing with potential. "Isaac!" Anna called, stepping into the room filled with machinery. "I need your help." A man emerged from behind a partially disassembled car, grease smudged across his face, but his eyes sparkled with intelligence. "Anna! What trouble are you in this time?" With a hurried explanation, Anna filled him in on the situation. Jake watched her, noting the way she took charge, how every word breathed a sense of urgency into the air. Isaac listened intently, brows furrowing as he processed the information. "If what you're saying is true, we need to move fast. They can't be allowed to get away with this." The energy in the room shifted as Isaac started scribbling notes, formulating a plan. Jake glanced at Emma, who looked both terrified and excited. "Why do I feel like we're standing on the edge of a volcano?" she whispered, eyes darting toward the door as if expecting trouble to spill in. Jake felt the same. Everything in him screamed for answers. But could he really trust this man? Could any of them truly know what danger lay ahead? "Let us hope we can control the eruption," he said quietly. There was no turning back now. Just then, the door swung open violently, and the flickering light illuminated a figure silhouetted against the street lamp outside. A pair of familiar eyes burned through the darkness. It was someone Jake had hoped to never see again, a man. From the shadows that threatened to engulf them. "What are you doing here?" Jake's voice trembled, tension crackling like static in the air. The moment of truth was inching closer. Would they face the demons of the past, or was this the beginning of something much darker than they had ever imagined? The tension in the air thickened as the figure stepped forward, revealing a face Jake recognized all too well. It was Mark, a former ally turned adversary, or maybe just an old friend who had chosen the wrong side. Jake's heart raced, dread washing over him. "Mark," he breathed, a mix of anger and disbelief flooding his voice. How had he found them here? Had he been tracking them? "Jake," Mark replied, his tone unsettlingly calm. "I thought I'd find you here. You have no idea what you're getting into." Anna stepped forward protectively, her posture tense. "We're not here to play games. We need to know what you know." Mark smirked, the glimmer of recognition flashing in his eyes as they narrowed between Jake and the others. "You really think you can just waltz in and get answers, huh? This isn't a fairy tale." Ignoring the condescension, Jake stepped in closer, fists clenched. "You don't get to lecture us about fairy tales. You're the one who abandoned us when we needed you." Mark's smile faded, and for a moment, vulnerability crossed his features. "You don't understand anything about what's happening. If you think you can take down the syndicate, you're all going to end up hurt, or worse. And that includes her." He gestured towards Anna. "Let me be the judge of that," she interjected firmly, her voice steady but low. Feeling the weight of the moment, Isaac moved closer, his arms crossed tightly. "We've come for help, not a debate. If you have information, now would be the time to share it." Mark hesitated, weighing his options, clearly torn. But the tension in the room was palpable. Every heartbeat echoed, a countdown to either revelation or disaster. All right, he said finally, raising his hands in mock surrender. But you should know that the syndicate doesn't just play by the rules. They have eyes and ears everywhere. What do you mean? Jake pressed, instincts on high alert. There's a shipment coming in tomorrow night. If you can intercept it, you might find the answers you're looking for. But you'll also be stepping into a firestorm. His voice dropped, a seriousness etched into every word. It's not just about you anymore. You're pulling others into this mess. Jake exchanged glances with Emma and Anna, the unspoken understanding between them clear. They were in too deep to turn back now. They had to know where this path led, no matter the cost. But why help us now? Anna queried, suspicion lacing her words. What's in it for you? Mark's expression hardened. I'm not here to save you, Anna. I just want to make sure you don't become a casualty in a war you don't understand. At that moment, a noise outside shattered their conversation. A series of loud thuds echoed off the walls as shouts could be heard just beyond the garage door. The shadows moved, shifting ominously. Get down! Isaac yelled, pushing Anna out of the way as the door burst open. A flood of silhouettes rushed in, faces indistinguishable, armed and ready for confrontation. Jake's pulse quickened as he instinctively reached for Emma, pulling her behind him. We have to fight. We have to know! Anna shouted. We need to get out of here. Desperate, Jake glanced at Mark, who had visibly shifted from nonchalance to alertness. You know the layout. Can you guide us? Mark nodded, eyes betraying a hint of fear. Follow me, but stay quiet. If they spot us, it's over. With the chaos unfolding at their backs, the real fight was starting. They might uncover deep truths, or they might lose everything in the blink of an eye. As they bolted towards the back exit, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this struggle was only the beginning. What awaited them in the dark corners of the night? And would they emerge unscathed, or were they stepping into an even deeper shadow? Jake's heartbeat thundered in his ears as he followed Mark, weaving through the labyrinth of shadows. The chaos outside echoed in sharp bursts, the sound of feet thudding against the pavement, and distant shouts jolted him forward. Instinctively, he tightened his grasp on Emma's hand, feeling the warmth of her palm even through the whirlwind of fear. Through here, Mark urged, motioning them toward a narrow corridor barely illuminated by a flickering light. The urgency in his tone shot through Jake like a bolt of electricity. Anna trailed close behind, glancing apprehensively at the door they had just escaped. Jake felt adrenaline coursing through him, but amidst the confusion, one thought crystallized. They were in this together. They had already fought for their community, their home, and now it felt as if they were fighting for their lives too. Keep quiet! Mark hissed, leading them into an adjacent room cluttered with old machinery and parts. The air was thick with the smell of oil and rust, but there was no time to pause. Jake peered around, taking in every detail: the door, the windows, the way light danced behind the thin walls. Why are you helping us, Mark? Anna whispered, urgency mingling with suspicion in her voice. You turned your back before. Why take the risk now? Mark hesitated, the flicker of guilt crossing his eyes. I may have made mistakes, but it doesn't mean I want to see you all burn. The sincerity pierced through the tension, creating a fragile alliance in the midst of chaos. Before anyone could respond, a loud crash echoed from the front, sending a chill through Jake. They couldn't stay here much longer. What's the plan? He asked, his voice hushed yet firm. Mark ran a hand through his hair, visibly rattled. There's a side door. We can slip out and reach the back alley. From there, we can get to safety, or at least a better vantage point. Let us do it, Jake agreed, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. He looked at Emma, who nodded, her expression steady and resolute, a silent affirmation that they were in this fight together. As they moved toward the side door, the sounds of urgency grew louder. Shouts and orders rained down from outside. The developers had brought muscle, and they weren't going to let anyone obstruct their plans. Here, Mark said, pushing the door open slightly, just enough for a view of the outside. He peeked out, glancing back at the rest of them. All clear. Let us go quickly. Jake pushed Emma through first, then followed, his senses heightened. The alley smelled of damp concrete, and the cool night air felt refreshing but ominous. They rushed forward, scanning their surroundings for any sign of danger. "Stay low," Anna ordered, leading the way as they darted further into the shadows. They reached the corner and peeked around it. The scene shocked Jake. Riders were moving in armed with crowbars and shouting commands, breaking doors and windows. A haze of turmoil settled over the familiar streets of their town. Memories swirled in his mind: smiling children, community gatherings, and the warmth of neighbors coming together. They were fighting for all this, and more. "Tomorrow night, they'll be moving the shipment into town," Mark muttered, the intensity of his gaze burning into Jake. "You have to warn your neighbors. You have to get them organized. I can't promise you'll succeed, but you need to act fast or everything you fought for will vanish." "What do we do in the meantime?" Jake asked, determination washing over him. "The best defense is information," Anna chimed in. "We find out the extent of their operation. Gather all the intel we can." "Okay, let us regroup," Jake commanded. "Emma, can you spread the word? Reach out to those we trust?" "Already on it," she replied, her voice steady, radiating confidence. "And I'll coordinate here with Mark and Anna, see if I can uncover more about the situation," Jake decided, trusting in their partnership. With urgency fueling their movements, they planned their next steps. The sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple. Their last chance to make a stand before a new dawn unfolded. They split into their roles, hearts pounding with a mix of fear and fierceness. As Jake moved away from the others, he felt a flicker of hope ignite inside him. Each person in their town bore resilience. They had seen struggles before and prevailed. They could do it again. He rounded up sense of laughter and warmth as he returned to the small town, a soft promise echoing in his heart. They were more than fighters. They were a family, a community that belonged to one another. "Hey!" Jake shouted to a group gathered on the porch, unaware of the chaos trailing behind him. "We need your help." Their heads turned, glancing at him with questions flooding their eyes. His heart surged, ready to inspire them. "This is our town, and we're not letting anyone take it from us." Making eye contact, he saw the flicker of recognition, emotion drawing the lines of unity. They had all lost something. But as resilience built in their faces, he sensed a fire ignite. Jake sent a message to Emma, telling her to regroup, to spread the word. They would mobilize everyone. Together they could confront the impending storm. With each spoke of connection and courage, the fight for their town's future took shape. It was bigger than blueprints and plans now. It was about belonging, love, and dreams that demanded to be realized. And there, standing tall, Jake felt the weight of his community behind him. This was only the beginning, a fresh canvas upon which they would write their story of triumph. Now more than ever, he understood the power of togetherness. Victory awaited them all, just on the other side of fear. This isn't just about the community center anymore. It's about standing shoulder to shoulder, challenging fate, reminding them that they were more than just survivors. They were fighters, reborn in spite of the odds. The thunderstorm had arrived, but they were ready. Now was the time to rise together. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next chapter of this thrilling journey. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread the story. Don't wait not even one more second. Comment below with your thoughts on this incredible transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this inspiring fight for hope.